Hello everyone, myself Pushpalata. Today we'll be discussing about Python application programming concepts related to loops. Consider, in order to calculate the maximum and minimum of a loop, to find the largest value in a list or a sequence, we construct this loop. Consider that I want to analyze the largest number in the string or the smallest number in the string, for which we have written a code where we have initialized a variable largest with a none value, and we are printing the value of the largest before. That means earlier the largest value is initialized to none, that is 0. Now once I start up the loop for the iter variable in the given list of values, we are trying to find which is the largest value. If the largest value is none or iter value is greater than largest, that means if we are checking for two conditions here, whether it should be equal to none or the value in the given list should be greater than the largest. If one of the value is true, say for example, if the iter value is greater, okay, that means the value in the list is greater than the largest, okay, then your largest value will be loaded with the iteration variable from the list. Else you are going to go for checking with the next value. Okay, so this continues for each and every values in the given list. Okay, and finally you print when you go with the loop. Okay, you are going to print that loop with the two values, that is two variables values, that is one is iteration variable and other one is the largest. Okay, so the variable largest is best thought of as a largest value which we have seen so far. Finally, once for all the elements in the loop has been thoroughly verified, finally we are going to print the largest value. So that when you display before value will be displayed as none, and when it starts looping, every time it checks for the looping value and it displays the iteration value and the largest value. So first iteration value is in the list is 3 and the largest value 3 is greater than none. So it is displaying 3. In the second iteration, it checks the second iteration value is 41. It compares whether iteration value is 41 is greater than the largest value. Since it is greater, the largest value will be loaded with the variable, that is value of the list, that is 41. Similarly, it keeps on checking which is the largest value, and finally largest value, that is 74, will be displayed or printed. Similar way, when we want to find out the smallest value, in that case we are going to initialize a variable called smallest, and we are printing before the smallest is nothing but none, and starting with the loop for iteration variable in the given list, we are checking smallest is none or iteration variable less than the smallest. That means the value inside the list is less than the smallest value inside the smallest variable. So if at all this is the smallest, that is the list, the value in the given list is smallest, then replace the smallest content with the iteration variable value. And you are going to print the loop each and every case of the comparison of the list which is there in the loop. Now soon after the loop is executed for all the variables, okay, then we are going to print the smallest value. Okay, so here we are going to find the minimum value or the smallest value of a given set of numbers. And we can also use a simple version of Python using the built-in minimum function. So in the Python we have a min function. The min function works almost like this. We have defined a min function for a set of values, okay, and it is a function in this function, okay, a smallest value will be identified, and say for example, min values. Okay, you are defining the function. The values are the values which is entered by the user, and define a variable for value in values. If the value is none or value less than the smallest, you take up the smallest value is nothing but the iteration value, that is value. Okay, say for example, values are nothing but the user entered values. Okay, user entered values. So corresponding to those values, okay, let me take up the example, some examples. Okay, right? So corresponding to each and every value, first little smallest is loaded with none. Okay, so now none, whether it is smallest when compared to that of 3, okay, then the value will be loaded with 3. Now first time when it is loaded with 3, okay, then it will compare the value 3 with the next iteration value. Okay, so if this is lesser, that means the value which is stored in the smallest is lesser compared to that of the value iteration value. Okay, so 3 will be retained. Finally it will go and check with the 3 with 6, and still it is lesser, so it will retain 3 only. And 3 is compared with 8, still it is lesser, so 3 will be retained. And 3 will be compared with finally with 2, so 2 is lesser, correct? No, so 2 is the value of the user entered value, and that once it is compared with the smallest variable value, so 2 is very lesser compared to that of 3. So finally the resultant answer, the smallest value it is going to return is 2. Okay, so we can make use of the built-in functions which are available in Python in order to do such operations. Let us talk about strings. What are strings? Strings are nothing but sequence of characters. We can access these characters one at a time using the bracket operator. So consider that we have a variable which is assigned with the string banana. And this every character, the string comprises of the BANANA. So these are the characters of this string. Now we can access the individual character by knowing the index position of the character, and you can assign it to another variable. So let me consider that I have another variable letter, and I am assigning the one of the character which belongs to the respective string of fruit. Now fruit of 1 is nothing but it is printing A. So it is starting with the value of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I talk about fruit of 1, it is indexing to the letter or character A. So when you print the letter, the result will be A. So similarly, if you want, you can just consider fruit of 2. So when you are assigning the fruit of 2 to a letter variable, then the result when you try to print fruit, or sorry, print letter, then the result will be n, because 2 is nothing but the index position of the letter or character n. Now consider that here I have letter. Okay, it's a variable to which I'm trying to print the first character of this string. So it is going to display B. Okay, so the offset of the first letter is nothing but what? 0. Okay, so indexing when we start, no, so the first position offset value or the index value position is nothing but 0 followed by the numbers. Okay, now when we are trying to find the length of a given string, okay, so in that situation we can make use of a function called len. So where, consider the same example, I have a variable fruit assigned with the string value banana, and we want to assign or get the length of the string. Here might be the string length is quite less, so you can easily do it, but sometimes the length of the string would be larger, in that situation we might have to use the len function. So when I use len function for this particular variable, and this simplifies to get the number of characters in the respective string. Now it is going to display, if I print len, the resultant would be the length of fruit will be displayed as nothing but 6. Okay, so we can also go with getting the last letter of the string. Okay, so in that situation we may use this syntax. Say for example, I have a last variable, and every time you need to keep it in mind that since we are indexing with the starting value as 0, the last value would be the length minus 1. So you need to consider fruit of length minus 1. So the last but 1, that means last but 1 in the sense last value of the given string will be considered, and it is taken and printed. Okay, say in the word or in the string banana. Okay, so since it is, there are 6 letters, and we are indexing it with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the last value is nothing but the length minus 1. So 6 minus 1 would give you the last letter or a character of the string. So when you print that particular variable, okay, the last character of the string will be displayed. Okay, and you can also make use of yeah, whenever we are trying to find the length, we are not supposed to give directly the length. Okay, as I told you, we are supposed to mention length minus 1. If at all we mention it is fruit of length, okay, then since it is taking from 0 to 6 would become totally 7 characters. Okay, and 7 characters are not at all there in the given string, correct? So there are only 6 characters, and it will definitely show the index error saying that string index is out of range. Okay, and this is how we are trying to find the length of the given string. Okay, next let us analyze the traversal through a string with a loop. As we do a lot of computations, okay, and these computations involve processing a string one character at a time, right? So we try to select each character, okay, and we do something with that particular character, and that continues till the end of the character. And this pattern of processing we call it as traversal. Okay, I repeat, we select each character in a string and we perform some operation, okay, or process the character, and that happens till the end of the character, okay, which is nothing but traversal through a string, and this happens through a loop. You can make use of any loop, while or even the for loop. Now consider this example. Here I have taken a variable with the name index, which is initialized to 0, and while loop you are checking for the index whether it is less than length of the fruit. Okay, and since it is initialized to 0, definitely it is length is less than the length of the fruit, which is equal to 6. What it does, it is going to get that index position, okay, that is fruit of index, to the value of the indexed position will be taken to a variable called letter, and that will be printed, and again to get the second letter you are going to increment the index value by 1. Okay, and this is going to perform some operation like printing the letter every time. Okay, so first letter fruit of index is pointing to 0. So in the word or a string banana, the first indexed position value is nothing but B. So B is to be the first letter, and it will display first letter as B. Second index position is 1, right? So every time the index value will be incremented by 1. So index plus 1, so when it jumps to the second position, it takes the second character or points to the second value, store it in the variable called letter, and it will print that particular variable. And that happens until all the characters in the given strings are noted and they are displayed. Okay, and for this case we can also make use of for loop, and this is a quite simple looping. Here also we are going to initialize the index value, and we are making the variable is a character, and you are searching for a character in the fruit. Okay, and for every character, since because that we don't need any count here, okay, automatically it tries to pass the values until it reaches the end. Okay, so it is going to print each and every character. Okay, so these are the ways that you can use looping structures to traverse through each and every character of a string. And each time whenever you use this, whenever you traverse through the loop, no, the next character in the string is assigned to the variable. Okay, and loop continues until that no characters are left out. Okay, now let us talk about string slices. Now what is a slice? Slice is nothing but a segment. Okay, so a segment of a string is called as slice or string slices. What is a slice? It is nothing but a segment. Okay, so segment of a string is considered to be the string slices. Now when you are selecting a slice, okay, it is almost similar that you are selecting a character. Okay, so consider this example. I have a variable which is assigned with a string, that is Monty Python. Now in this, I am after assigning, I am printing yes brace parenthesis 0:5. Okay, so what happens here in this colon operator, okay, it is a slice operator which is going to return a part of the string from the nth character. Okay, say for example, I don't know how many character values that I have it in the string. Okay, so it will get the values printed or characters printed, okay, from 0th place to up to 5th position. Okay, so within that, whatever the value it is there or the character is there, it will be taken and displayed or printed. So what is the result you are getting? It is Monty. Next, talk about print s of 6:12. So what is happening? It is starting from which index? It is starting from an index position of 6. Correct? So the index position 6 comprises of the letter or the character P. Now what it happens? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, I have given 12. Oh, 1 second. Here, just keep in mind, the space is also considered to be one character. Okay, in case of strings, the space is also considered to be one character. And when you are giving from 6 to 12, so it is starting from the space character. Okay, so you can see that one space would be given and from there it is going to start. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the last is n. So Python will be displayed. Okay, so I repeat once again. Here colon is nothing but the slice operator which is used to get the part of the string, okay, from nth character to the mth character. Okay, so here we can also use another ways of slice operator. Okay, so consider the same example. I have a variable assigned with a string called banana, and whenever I omit the first index and write the second index, okay, so in that situation the slicing starts at the beginning of the string. Okay, so it starts from banana, that means the beginning character is B, so from there up to 3 characters it will take and it will display. Similarly, we can make use of the one more way, that is first index colon. Okay, so when you give the first index and no second index, that means you are omitting the second index, then it will start from the end of the string. Okay, that means your slice goes to the end of the string. So what happens is it will display the last 3 characters of your string value. So A and A will be displayed. Sometimes what happens, you may try to give both the indices or index values same. Okay, so in here what is happening, that is the first index is equal to the second index, but earlier your first index or the second index was greater or smaller, correct? No, but when you give it equal to the second index, okay, definitely your result will be an empty string. Okay, so keep it in mind whenever you are giving the first index and the second index equal. Okay, the result is an empty string. Next, let us talk about the characteristics of strings, and in this case we talk about strings are immutable. Okay, so what is the meaning of immutable? Immutable means you cannot make any modification or you cannot change an existing string. Okay, say that I have a variable which is assigned with a string value called hello world. Okay, now instead of h I want to replace it with j. Okay, so what to do? Can I directly go for the index position and change it? That means greeting of 0, can it be equal to j? No, because string object does not support an item assignment. So this is the error which shows. Why this type error will show? Because strings are immutable. You cannot make any changes to the existing string. Okay, now what is the way that I can change? You have a best way that you can do it. Fine, what you have to do, you create one more string, you create a new string. Okay, and you try to add, okay, concatenate, so using a plus operator. Fine, so I have a greeting variable which is assigned with the hello world. Now what I do, I create one more variable called new greeting. Now what I do is, I'll take up the variable which I want to, I take up the character which I want to modify. I'll concatenate with the greeting 1 colon. That means it is when you are giving the first index, okay, and no second index. Fine, so it will directly point to the ending. Okay, so what you can choose is the first letter. Okay, index, probably there is a small mistake which is shown here. It should be the colon 1. Okay, that means it is pointing to the first index since it is beginning with the first index. Okay, so the result would be the replacement of h with j. So this becomes jello world, right? So the thing is, directly you cannot make any modification. Okay, so basically you can do the concatenation of slice into one more another variable or another string. Okay, such that you can modify any character of the string. Let us talk about looping and counting. Okay, so I have a program. This is a program which is going to demonstrate it is going to count the number of times a letter is going to appear in a string. Okay, so consider that I have a word variable which is assigned with the string called banana. Now in order to check that, say for example, I want to count how many number of times a has appeared in this string. Okay, so in that case what you can do is, first you initialize the count to be 0 and start the loop. Every time whenever it is finding this letter, that is if the letter is equal to a, then you increment the counter. Okay, else go for the second letter. Okay, next characters. Now every time it checks for the character whether it is equal to a or not, and if it is equal to a, your count will be incremented. Else after it reaches the last character of the string, then it comes out of the loop. Okay, so you can see that the total, when you print the count, it will display the result as 3 because the total number of a's present here is 3. Okay, and you have an exercise here where you encapsulate this code in a function named count and generalize it so that it accepts the string and the letter as an argument. So you can do it. Okay, so how you can do, I need to encapsulate this entire thing, whatever the code I have written, no, I should encapsulate in a function. Okay, so that function I will call it as count. Fine, when I call this every time, it should go for counting the specific letter whichever user has entered, and it should give the count of the specific character. Okay, that could be taken as an exercise or an assignment.